Sound is good, dude. You are a great sound engineer.
We're back. We had some technical difficulties.
We did.
And I'm not sure they're completely over, but we're going to plow forward and see if we can make this podcast happen. Welcome to another segment of the Two Joes podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Such a fun time, isn't it? You know, it's and you know, a stumble like that can happen to anybody, man, Joe. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah, I caught my foot on my headphone cable and it just did not go well. I snapped off my adapter and now my left ear is not giving me any sound. So there was some damage done. But I think we're going to be okay. We're going to be able to continue with this segment and see where it goes.
You know, Main Joe, that's what makes it so amazing. There was damage done, and then you pulled out the tools you needed to perform the surgery on the control panel and removed the damaged part, and then reached into your kit and grabbed another synchronous part that worked. It worked, and that's why we're talking now. It was an amazing, I want to use the word here, producer. That showed your incredible skill as a producer. Am I correct in using that?
Well, engineer, producer, try to be prepared, right?
Engineer, producer, I like that. Indeed. You know, because
the bummer of it is that we had, we were getting excited to start another segment because we're talking about stuff and let's jump right in. Let's get this going. And I said, before we do, let me grab another beer. And then I caught my foot on my headphones and had a wipeout.
And to be fair,
and then we forgot about what we were going to talk about.
Yeah, we had to come up with new ones, didn't we? We had to find new ones. Well, let us search for some new ones. Listeners, we just climbed atop our surfboard and we are drifting towards shore. If you have anything you'd like to talk about, please let us know. And Main Joe, I cannot drift away from my favorite topic. My favorite topic.
Hit me with it.
Tulsi Gabbard is my favorite topic.
Yes. She's one of my favorites too. I mean, she's so solid. You know where she is now.
Today, like right now at this moment.
Right now at this moment.
Mountain time zone. Yeah.
Whatever. No, she's not in the mountain time zone. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
You know where she's at?
No.
Apparently you do not. She is doing her, I think it's her National Guards, her 2 weeks every year. They have to do 2 weeks, and she's in Indonesia right now. Her campaign crew has taken over her email list, and they've sent me some emails trying to get me to help her out, spread the word, all that kind of stuff, because she hasn't qualified for this third debate yet, and it's coming right up. I think she has to.
Oh no, she has.
She has? Did you hear this for sure?
No, I have not heard this from anybody in authority. No. But she's already qualified, dude.
Well,
Where is she serving now?
The DNC hasn't qualified her for the next debate.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Hopefully they will, but they haven't yet.
Where is she serving now? Did you say?
Indonesia.
Indonesia. So she's on active duty right now, isn't she?
Essentially, she is active duty for 2 weeks. Yeah. There's no other way. There's no other way to.
She has qualified for the next debate, dude. Make no mistake about it. She will be there. She will
make no
be
mistake, there. This woman is qualified to be president of the United States.
She is awesome.
In my opinion.
She is wonderful.
She's solid. She's unflappable. She's intelligent. She knows the issues. She's been in politics. She knows how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she's filled with aloha. She's filled with love. Oh my God, finally a politician that actually talks about love and how it is.
Well, Marianne does that too, though.
You know what? I'm not opposed to Marianne. She's got some good stuff to say.
She's poetic. I will grant that. She's lyrical.
I have read Marianne Williamson's one of her books, dude. I don't know what book it was. She's a
I wouldn't
self-help
know either.
guru. She's a self-help guru. How
Yeah.
can you help yourself? How can you, it's a lot like we were talking with Todd about. She does that kind of stuff. How do you question the thoughts in your head?
I do it this way. I measure them against Deepak Chopra, and or Anthony Robbins, or Joel Osteen. Joel Osteen.
I know who you're talking about. I'm not sure where you're going yet.
They just make millions and millions of dollars on spouting things and just being presenters.
So you're saying Anthony Robbins has nothing good to say? I used to be a fan of his, and I can't think of anything in particular right now that I would counter your bias against him. However, I think he's helped people. But I know Marianne Williamson is not. I don't think she's at their level. I don't think she's there. She's more of a. She's kind of spiritual though. She's more spiritual than Anthony Robbins, because I'm familiar with Anthony Robbins. I've studied him a fair amount in my day, because I'm totally into self-help. I'm totally into you. In my opinion, you're a co-creator in this life. I mean, yeah, everything, all this shit is around you. All this stuff happens, but you have a say in it. You create. You create your own life in a way. And yeah, there are obstacles in your way. There are obstacles in everybody's way. You just have to kind of work through them. I mean, and
you do create your own life.
I think so.
I fully agree with that.
You're a co-creator.
But not just in a way, though.
Yeah, in a way. You're not a creator. You're a co-creator, because you've got this universe around you that puts pressures on you and tells you things and fake news, and you got to work. You got to work 40 hours a week, and you got to do all these things to be a valued citizen in the United States. You're a co-creator. You got all that coming at you, and then you got to say, okay, how do I fit in?
Yes. How do I accommodate? How do I
play the game?
How do I shrink away a little bit because I don't want to upset somebody over there, or
I played that game a
somebody
lot.
over there?
Yeah. That's why I'm trying to stay anonymous, because on this podcast, because I want to be my authentic self, and it's going to piss some people off, and some people are going to think I'm crazy, and I don't want the blowback from that, because I really am about love and helping people out, and that's why we had Todd Sylvester on, and that's why we're Tulsi supporters, is because positive energy, man, it comes back at you.
Main Joe, I feel as happy and healthy and positive about my life right now as I ever have in my entire life.
I'm happy to hear that,
as
dude.
of today, and
That's so awesome.
And this is a main part of it. Marker, wipe this corny shit out.
Really, is it too corny?
I'm getting corny,
I don't know, dude. I don't know. I think love is. That's why I like Tulsi, because she talks about love, and I don't think it's too corny to talk about love. I think it's something we need to talk about. I mean, what kind of world do you want to live in?
Love should be left to the musicians like John Lennon.
Yeah, you don't think it's a place in politics necessarily?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
So does it bug you when Tulsi talks about aloha and love?
Not aloha. That doesn't bother me at all. And as far as love, when she talks about love, I haven't heard any of that.
Oh, I'll send you a link, dude. I'll send you a link.
Thank you.
That's one of the reasons I like her so much, because she's fucking war, man.
I saw a brief snippet of her wedding. Have you seen her wedding
footage? Just very briefly.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was wonderful.
Beautiful.
And I wish I were that man. I don't know her husband's name. Do you know his first name?
I do not know. He's totally staying out of the limelight.
Totally. Yeah. That's why I love her again so much.
Yeah.
She is
Boundaries.
simply out there. Listeners, what Tulsi Gabbard is she is a professional politician, and a very good one. A very good professional politician. Please pay attention to her. Listen to what she has to say, even when she repeats herself. Please. It's worth it. What do you think, Manjo?
I'm a fan, I have to say. I'm a fan. And the only other politician talking about love is Marianne Williamson, and she got a big bump after that last debate, didn't she? She was on Bill Maher's show because of that bump she got, and because she got some notoriety, and she made some good points.
Or he couldn't get anybody else. that night.
I don't know. Well, you might be right there. I can't say.
Well,
that
he's
that's
got them
not
all,
true.
though. He
But
had
yeah.
Tulsi. He had Tulsi on there.
Yeah, he did. He did. And Tulsi's used some of that in her YouTube ads, some of that interview.
Did you hear that she sued Google
Yes.
for millions of dollars?
Yes, $50 million, I believe. I think she has a valid point. I don't know if it's $50 million worth, but, my God. Because people are searching for her after a fucking debate, you need to fix that fucking algorithm or something. You need to have someone at the controls here, Google. Come on, man. That was ridiculous.
Someone at the controls.
Someone, yeah.
Where, another thing Tulsi said that night was reduce the foreign wars, the wars of choice, and all these things. Well, I've got to stop, Manjo. I feel I was going to slander her rather than praise her on what I remembered. I'm going to stop right there.
Okay.
I am incredibly impressed with Tulsi Gabbard.
I am too.
She is just a solid thinker and politician and human.
I like how unflappable she is. They'll hit her with these weird questions, trying to pin her down, trying to smear her in a way. And she usually has a really good way of coming back and saying, look, man, let's get real here. We spent $4 billion a month on Afghanistan. We're in endless wars, spending taxpayers' money that could be used for other things at home, like education, infrastructure, etc., etc.
And, Manjo, can we trust Tulsi Gabbard with realizing where and when to deploy American combat forces in attack mode? Can we trust her?
We can trust her more.
She was just a nurse, wasn't she? Just a nurse?
Just a nurse in a combat zone.
Yep.
I don't know, man. I'm sure she didn't carry an M16, perhaps, but she saw what an M16 can fucking do to her friends, her comrades, her fellow people in arms.
I want to volunteer for Tulsi's campaign, and I want to document the total number of veterans that are alive today because of Tulsi's input, because of her efforts on the battlefield. Combat veteran. She's a combat veteran.
Totally. She was in the zone, man.
There have to be some people alive today because of her putting pressure on puncture wounds in the chest.
That's a good point.
She hasn't gone down that road, has she? Brought on all the people she saved.
Well, no, that's not who she is. I don't expect her to do that. However, I do perhaps expect some people to come out and endorse her in that way, saying, look, man,
dude, that's what's going to happen.
This shit happened and she was down. She was ready.
In the next 6 months or 12 months, there's going to be a lot of people coming out saying, I wouldn't be alive if it weren't for Tulsi Gabbard.
It could happen.
It's going to happen.
And the Republicans will smear her.
Or they'll fall in lockstep behind her. What has Tulsi done to upset Republicans, really?
Dude.
What number 1, 2, and 3, then? What do the Republicans hate Tulsi for the most? Give me number 1, 2, and 3.
She didn't carry an M16. She was only a nurse.
No, I'm talking policy.
Policies.
Yeah, legislation.
What has love got to do with it?
Dude, I love where our podcast has got to this point, because now it's just kind of laughter. We're not really sure what's going on. Sure. At least I'm not.
I'm not sure. What else would Republicans have against Tulsi? That's a good question. How would they try and smear her? What could they use against? Oh, she's from Hawaii. What's a fucking island in the Pacific? Like, we're going to elect someone from that?
Dude, it's more basic. It's much more basic.
Oh, she's got brown skin. You think they'll go there? What do you think? What do you think?
Much more basic than that.
Really?
Much more far-reaching.
She's a woman.
Another good one. But it's not that either. It's that she's a socialist. That's how they're identified now. That is the attack. That is the attack. Socialist.
Okay, I'm
not
gonna,
a woman, not a sexist, not a femme, not
I'm
a this,
gonna
not
admit,
a trans, not a this.
perhaps I'm not as up on Tulsi's policies as I should be, being that I did contribute money to her campaign. What policies is she advocating for that they would attack her for being a socialist about?
Being a Democrat, number one.
Just being a Democrat.
Yes.
Okay, that's possible.
That's
a good point. I mean, even people that are running on the Democratic ticket that are more centrist than she is will be attacked for being a socialist. I believe you're right there. I believe that is true.
And
anybody, even if it's Biden, they'll attack him for being a socialist.
Buttigieg.
Socialist.
No matter what policies they espouse, they're going to be
it's a fear word.
accused of
The right that's a fear word for them, and that's what they run on. They run on fear.
It's a rile the base word.
Yep,
it's a rile the base.
Absolutely, 100%.
And let me ask this, Main Joe. Then socialism. Let's take the word democratic out of it. Not democratic socialism. Just socialism.
Straight up socialism.
So in a socialist government system, do we no longer have the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, the freedom of religion? Do we no longer have the right to carry guns? Do we no longer have the right to address the government to petition the government for a redress of grievances? Marker.
What did you marker that for?
'Cause I said it wrong the first time. The socialist.
The only country I can think of that I know of that's a socialist country that it's working for them for the most part is France. And as far as I know, France has had like a pretty big protest going on now for quite some time with those yellow vests over there. Jimmy Dore talks about it a fair amount. So you can protest. You can speak out against your government. I see it happening over there in France all the time.
Still happening there, yeah. They even had it back in China at Tiananmen Square back in that day, and that wasn't permitted. The government didn't permit it back then.
It's happening right now in Hong Kong, right?
It's kind of happening right now, isn't it, dude? Are you waiting to see the YouTube headline the next day? 10,000 killed in Hong Kong over clashes and protests and.
Boy,
I haven't watched. What's going on right now as we speak?
Well, there's lots of people in the streets. Basically, they're taking over airports and things, and they're protesting this extradition law because it's such a weird situation they have over there, dude. Because they used to be under British rule, and now Britain's giving it back to China in a way, but with lots of stipulations, lots of you can't do this, you can't do that. It doesn't fully become China's until 2047, as far as ruling it the way they want to rule it. And then the way they set up their intermediary government it's so crazy, dude. Like a good chunk of it goes to corporations. How crazy is that? Can you imagine if corporations was in the Constitution that they could decide 30% of our representatives in Congress? How crazy would that seem? But that's basically what they've got right now, and that's why this extradition law will probably pass eventually. Right now, they've just put it on hold because I think like 70% of that Congress is pro-China.
Which Congress?
Of Hong Kong's Congress, the ruling body of Hong Kong.
Pro-China.
Pro-China, 70% of it. So these guys are basically fighting for, really all they can really do is just delay the inevitable, is basically what they're trying to do, is delay this inevitable takeover of China in 2047. Maybe what they ultimately hope to do by winning, if they can win this little battle, is to say, look, we don't want China ruling us. We want to be independent. We want to have more of a say. We want to feel represented. Isn't that basically what we all want, is to have a voice, to have representation in our government?
Indeed. How big is Hong Kong? It's a couple islands out there. It's square miles.
No,
Just
it's
give me
not an
square
island. It's on the mainland China. I think you might be thinking Taiwan. Hong Kong is a city on mainland China that British had rule over. And I think it's like probably in the millions, 7 million, 8 million people. It's crazy. It's big city. It's huge, and it was a capitalist system for up until recently. So they've got huge skyscrapers, they've got progressive voices, they've got internet, you know. These people aren't oppressed Chinese, these are hip Chinese, right? So yeah, it's a huge deal. They're fighting for their independence essentially, in a way, I think.
There are protests happening right now as we speak.
I believe so.
And what about the Portland thing today? I heard there were protests in Portland, Oregon today. Did you see some of those?
Yeah, I saw some of that. I'm confused.
Are we getting manufactured news now, dude?
Yeah. We really seem to be. I don't know what to think of this Antifa group, and yeah, from what I understand, these guys, pro-Trump people, were marching down, and Antifa came to meet them, and it wasn't pretty. And it looked to me, from what I saw, that Antifa was the more aggressive of the two people, the two groups, you know. And yeah, I'm not sure what Antifa even is. I know Trump likes to vilify them and say they're evil and whatnot, but you know, Antifa wasn't the ones that wasn't the one that ran over that girl peacefully protesting in Charlottesville or whatever it was. So I don't know what the deal is in Portland. I really couldn't tell you. I was actually pretty surprised. I thought Oregon was more of a democratic liberal society, but apparently they have a pretty strong right side to them. And I'm still trying to figure that whole mess out. I know more about what's going on in Hong Kong than I do Portland.
Do you? I don't know if that's true.
If what I've seen is true, I think. Maybe what I should have said is I understand a little more what's going on in Hong Kong than I do Portland.
Yeah. And remember, listeners, that Manjo spent most of his days with sprinklers, and I spent all day golfing and drinking. Yeah, it's coming up though, dude. We can't have an infinite number of nights like this on evenings like this in late summer. Would you consider this late summer?
Yes, very. Yeah, school starts tomorrow for my daughter.
Yeah.
Summer's over.
We're gonna have many more, and it just seems every one of them gets better. That's what I'm trying to say. The summer nights, the winter nights, the fireplace, and the warm temperatures.
I don't know where you were going there, Mojo, but it's all good, bro. It's all good. Yeah, I don't know. You know, there's protests out there. Socialist countries can protest. Yeah, even communist countries can protest, but let me tell you, in the communist country, it takes on a whole nother meaning when you're standing in front of a fucking tank, man.
Are there any communist countries on the surface of the globe today? Are there any on Earth?
Purely communist. That's a good
communist
question.
That's
communist
a good question. I can think of two, maybe. China, communist China, and Russia. That's all I can think of.
I'm thinking the only purely communist country that I'm aware of is North Korea, because China, you know, they've come the direction of capitalism in a way. I mean, they've got business owners there. They've got people. I've met them. I've met Chinese business owners there, and they're well off. Their kids had cell phones just like mine. They were. If I wouldn't have known better, I could have said you could have plucked them right out of any city in the U.S. that had Chinese-looking people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, China's come toward capitalism a lot. And I think that's largely in part because of Tiananmen Square, that protest. Basically, the people were protesting. Look, you're not giving us enough shit. Basically, is what happened, and so they started giving them more shit. I don't know how they did it, but you know they let them have a say in the business. They let them own businesses. They let them do stuff that capitalist societies enjoy, you know, and at least that's to my understanding. Again, I don't know anything really. I mean, I have supporting
evidence for what you just said right there. When Tiananmen happened, you know, as tragic and awful as it's remembered, it was not long after that well over 100 million Chinese citizens were lifted out of poverty.
Yes. Isn't that interesting?
That is a fascinating thing. Now, who was president when this happened of the United States, when this sudden economic miracle happened?
I do not know.
I believe it was Clinton, wasn't it?
That would have been my guess.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah,
We just have to get used to a global workforce.
Yeah, well,
for call centers, for assembling toys, for putting together your cell phone. It's a global workforce.
And capitalism, it's not all bad. I think capitalists just need to realize that, hey, we need a voice, and you need to share more of the wealth with us. That's what the Chinese were protesting about, at least in part, and that's kind of what's causing this uproar with the right, or the left rather, leaning more socialist. Is we just need more. You're the corporatist, the capitalist healthcare system sucks. And we're done with it. You guys didn't share enough of that wealth. You've been making bank off of us, and it's time to fucking fix it.
Well, they're trying to make money off of both the healthcare system as it is today and the Chinese tariff things, the Chinese conundrum, whatever it is. They're doing what they can to make money off of both of these things. They just did off of the tax cuts. Back in 2017,
they made bank off of that.
They made huge bank on there, and then they want to see how they can make money on the Chinese thing. And
dude, someone, sometimes I'll read the comments after I watch a video. And this one, I watched a video on farmers in Iowa and what they think of Trump now that the tariffs are kicking in and they're living off of these subsidies and all that. And one of the comments said it was kind of, I don't know, it made me like, whoa, you might have a point there. He was like, oh, this was all part of the plan. So you put in these tariffs, these Iowa farmers can no longer make a living, they go under, corporations move in, buy up the farms for penny on the dollar, now you got corporate farms. What do you think, dude? Is that possible? Is it all part of the plan?
The main Joe, as long as they keep me well fed like I am, then I guess I'm okay with it. I got to be okay with it. I mean, look at me. You're smiling. Yeah, I can see you laughing. I'm well fed. I am well fed. I'm happy with my life as it is. Yeah, I really am. Man.
I just don't have the faith in corporations to take care of the earth and take care of the quality of the food in the same manner as I do like an independent Iowa farmer. You know what I mean? Because look at Monsanto. I mean, they're not even calling themselves Monsanto anymore because they've got such a bad reputation with all.
They changed their name?
Yeah,
Did they? Really?
I think it's now the Bayer Corporation or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know, and they're I don't know. I think it'd be a travesty if corporations came in and bought up all those farms. I mean, I'm already feeling a little bit bad about eating chicken and stuff because of, and even bacon, because these chickens have no life. they're just in these pens and they can't move and they just lay in their own feces. And you've heard the stories, right? I mean,
yes, I've seen footage.
Yeah, on one hand, I'm sympathetic because the population's going berserko and these people need to be fed. But on the other hand, how humanity treats animals and stuff, I think it's important. It's.
May I do a quote from Albert Einstein at that?
Please.
He was quoted, if I remember correctly from the book I read, he said, "World peace will never occur." No, forget, I already screwed up. One of the best ways to look for world peace is when humankind evolves toward a vegetarian diet. It's kind of what you're saying right there, isn't it? The treatment of animals, and
I think it's
not dairy free, by the way. Cheese and milk and all that's okay. That's still okay. But We don't have to slaughter anything anymore. And
I struggle with that a bit because I love meat. I love bacon. I love chicken. Steaks aren't my thing.
I do too.
I'm not into steaks, but
when it's well prepared,
I like fish. We're overfishing our oceans, but I still eat salmon. Yeah, man.
Are we overfishing our oceans? I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any.
I watch sailing shows, dude, and it's just in places out there it's very sad. In some places it's still pretty good, but yeah, I mean our planet is sick, and a lot of people don't want to recognize it, and the population just keeps going crazier and getting larger and larger. And
is that a problem? Getting larger?
I think so. I mean,
Really?
on one of our podcasts, you said that this planet can sustain like 30 billion people, which we're far from at this point. But if you look at our planet and the shape it's in, it's not looking good, dude. It's not looking like we can sustain that many people at this point. I don't know.
I'm not sure I agree, Manjo. My good friend Manjo. I'm not sure I agree. There are still many wonderful inhabitable areas on
Absolutely.
our planet. Absolutely. And
I heard recently that we are, the current situation with the ice cap and the how much the global average temperature has raised.
the one in Greenland.
There was a heat wave in Europe this summer, which I didn't hear much about, but I heard about. And so they say basically right now we're experiencing what they predicted previously would be 2070 conditions. So in other words, we're way ahead of the curve. Way ahead of the curve.
I saw that too, yeah.
So, man, your optimism, I hope you're right, dude. In my heart, I hope you're right. I hope we can figure this thing out.
Yeah.
And sustain 30 billion people on this planet. That's a lot of people, man.
Well, every person on the planet right now, today, 7.2 billion or something like that, every one of us could fit inside of any average southern Utah county, like Sevier County.
Are you serious?
Yes. If we're given 2 square feet to stand,
Wow.
we can fit in a Utah county. Now, the question becomes, dude, resources. Equal and moral division of resources, water and crops and food.
That's just it. As the temperature increases and the weather gets crazier and places dry up, like Iraq, which we talked about in the previous podcast segment, these people got to go somewhere. Where are they going to go? We're already having trouble with immigration, not only in our country, but in Britain. They're arguing about it. In Israel, they're arguing about it. All over the globe, they're trying to figure out what to do about all these immigrants. We got the Middle East in an uproar, and everything's crazy there. Syrian refugees are trying to get to Greece, and today I donated some money to a refugee camp in Greece. It's like, where are they supposed to go? No one wants them. They can't live in Syria anymore. Have you seen pictures of Syria? It's unbelievable.
Manjo, what's the last war you can remember naming?
Good question, dude. Good question.
Thank you.
We're bombing, 7 or 8 countries right now, and we haven't declared war. We're just bombing them. Congress hasn't declared war on anybody. It's just president doing his thing, bombing people for the sake of in name of the United States.
Been going on for 15 years. 15 years.
I just don't understand it, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah, we got to draw back, man.
And I always hear people say stuff like, "Oh, we should be protesting in the streets. We should be going crazy." Blah. Well, we don't have the body counts coming back, or at least the media isn't telling us about body counts.
If they even know.
I mean, for a while there, Bush wasn't letting the caskets with the flags come back. He wasn't letting them be videotaped or filmed.
I'm sure Obama covered some of them up too.
Probably.
Sure, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
But, may I inject a little optimism here, Manjo?
Please.
When I asked you the question, can you name... Oh, no, what was the question? Can you name the last war?
What's the last war you could name?
Last war you could name.
Yeah, well,
And I meant American war, but any war.
Okay,
any war.
the last time we declared war, we must have declared war in Iraq. I can't believe that was just a presidential decision.
Well, good question.
Didn't Congress declare war in Iraq in that case? Because remember that everyone voted for it. Hillary voted for it. I think John Kerry voted for it. McCain voted for it. The only person that didn't vote for it was Bernie.
Obama, was he in there at that
I
time?
don't think he was in there at that time. He was a senator in Illinois, I think, at that time.
Well, senator would have a vote.
In Illinois state senator.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you.
Remember, because that guy went to jail because he tried to sell Barack's position in the state Senate because he got reelected president. What's that guy's name? He's still doing time, I believe.
I forget. Yeah, okay. I remember the name now. The
Blagojevich, the governor of Illinois, got sent to prison.
I'm proud. I just had
that was
my
good.
producer credit right there.
Very good. Yeah. So yeah, I believe we declared war in Iraq when we invaded them. A sovereign nation. That nation did nothing to us. We wanted to preempt the ability for them to make a nuclear or a weapon of mass destruction. We just decided, nope, this sovereign nation has a weapon of mass destruction. It's our job to go in there and fix that. Isn't that essentially what we did?
Well, we went in there to Iraq because we were worried about them getting a nuclear bomb into L.A. or Chicago or New York.
But it wasn't. Nuclear bomb wasn't used. It was weapon of mass destruction.
Well, fair. Whatever it is.
Chemical could have been chemical weapons, I guess. I don't know.
Biological, anything, dirty bombs.
But they didn't find it. They didn't find any weapon of mass destruction. How you define that? I don't know.
Well, we knew he had them, though. We knew he did possess them.
We claimed.
Well, he used them. He used them many times.
So you're saying we did find weapons of mass destruction when we invaded Iraq?
No, I'm saying Saddam Hussein employed weapons of mass destruction many times, more than once or twice, many times. Chemical, artillery, biological. He used them many times over his career.
So you're saying, is this a Christopher Hitchens argument?
Yes.
So that's a good point. How do you define weapon of mass destruction? See, in my opinion, I was always under the impression that it was a nuclear bomb, something like that. Whereas actually, if you boil it down to just a weapon of mass destruction, it could be chemical weapons, which he used. We know he used those, so maybe we... But I guess okay. So that opens my eyes up right there. Okay, already I'm saying, I have to rethink that a little bit.
It's very cool.
I have to rethink that because I was just spewing. Oh, we didn't find any weapons of mass destruction. Oh, really? Well, maybe you weren't looking hard enough because we know for a fact he used them
in the past. Yes. Yeah. And used thousands
of
them, not just once or twice.
I need to take another look. I need to look up Christopher Hitchens, and I invite the listener to do the same.
Indeed.
So, but regardless, was it our job? Why did we take on that duty?
That was our fourth point that we were raising before, remember? The America being the policeman of the world. Let's stop this war
Isn't that
stuff.
the UN's job? But we did have...
No, that's the problem. We all think it's the UN's job. They are
not
incompetent. The UN is incompetent.
I don't think it's so much incompetence but that the U.S. doesn't want them to have the job because then we don't have control. Do you really want the UN to have this powerful military? Oh, no.
Well, the UN doesn't have a military. They don't have one.
Right. So how can it be their job then?
Yeah. They just have too much power. The UN has too much power.
You think they have too much power even though they don't have a military?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of power do they have, dude?
They got America getting on our knees in front of the UN. And
oh, really?
Yeah. America right now, in this moment in history, just in this moment, would do much better things if we were on our own right now.
You think so?
Yeah.
Wow.
Apart from the UN. Which started as the League of Nations under
Woodrow
Wilson.
It's there for peace. It's supposed to be promoting peace, right?
Yeah, it's just a big, like the Olympics, dude. It's just a big corrupt organization where people are getting handouts and this and that, and nothing gets done. They pass resolution after resolution condemning the same things that, Iraq committed genocide, so we either have to act to prevent or punish for the genocide, and then they never do anything. The UN never does anything until America does, until America steps in and does something.
And it's not like we didn't have a coalition going into Iraq. We didn't go in there alone.
Well, no, we didn't. We didn't. We had the usuals and a few extras, and it was great. But the military part was quickly to be concluded. The why did we go in there? It is what has troubled me for all these years.
Yeah.
Why did
well,
we
and
go
the
in
fact
there?
that we had no exit strategy, and the fact that they thought we'd go in there and they'd treat us as liberators, which was not the case at all. That's just poor
Yeah, that one still, to this day, I'm still against the Iraq
But you've
War.
opened my eyes up to a bit as far as how it's maybe not the same league, same class of war as Vietnam.
Yeah. Yeah. If I may then, Mangel, thank you for that. This will be 15, 20 seconds. If you ever hear anybody who is absolutely against the Iraq War, and the main reason they give is because, okay, Saddam Hussein was a bad guy. As soon as you hear them say something like that, you know they don't know what they're talking about.
Sorry, not enough. Sorry, not
Is-
enough. Yeah.
This is evil on a scale that we've seen throughout history. You know, the Hitler is the best example, but we've seen variations of this type of evil. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was death. It was immediate death for you and your family if you were caught in possession of a satellite dish in Iraq.
Really?
In the years before he was
Oh,
deposed.
I did not know that.
Yeah. But still,
You know, that brings me back a little bit to how we were talking about earlier about how it was a hub at one point. It was like the center of the universe. It was
I'd
a
love to talk
fantastic
about that
area.
more. Yeah,
How did it go from that to Saddam Hussein?
Well, give me an R. Give me an E. Give me an L. Give me an I. Give religion. That's what happened.
Is that what happened?
It was the center of the universe, dude. It's where all the minds came. It's you've heard the term Arabic numerals.
Mm-hmm.
That is the numeric system
Yeah.
that the American economy is built on.
Yeah.
Arabic numerals.
Yeah.
That's what we study.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating thing. And then
It is fascinating.
and it was for 300 years. Baghdad ruled the world for 300 years. And then some king or prophet or religious leader came forth and said, no, this book learning is of the devil. We must rebel. And he got enough people to follow him. Wow. And
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, I've got, like I was telling you, I'm starting to kind of organize these clips I see and these topics I want to talk about. And one of the topics that's been coming up is like cult of personality. Why do they think Trump's the greatest thing that ever happened to this country? I'm still trying to think of one policy that Trump's implemented that's benefited me, that's made this country a better place to live. I have a hard time thinking about it. You know, you could say the tax cut. Yeah, I benefited from the tax cut. However, it wasn't but 2 or 3 months later, he sent out a tweet, crashed the stock market, and I lost that same amount of money that I gained from the tax cut in the stock market. So I erased that. That's even. I don't think that, you know, to me that's nothing that benefited me really.
You know, I'm just hoping that Trump has a game in mind that we don't know about, and we're going to wind up. America's going to wind up being the big winner at the end of it, because I don't know what game we're in right now. Tariffs back and forth, and
Good point. Pissing everybody off, stirring the pot.
Well, not everybody. He's not pissing everybody off.
Who's he not pissing off? North Korea? Putin? Who's he not pissing off? He pissed off Canada for all the allies in the world. Oh my goodness.
Well, fair. That's fair. You know, he's not pissing off his base. his base is not pissed off.
Well, but that's right back to where I started from. Is like, why do these people love him so much? Cult of personality. What makes someone so influential, so godlike in their eyes that they can do no wrong?
He can lead us through anything. He can lead us.
One
through
woman
anything.
said, "If I don't believe in dictatorships, but if we're going to have a dictator, I want it to be Trump." What?
Well,
Did you just hear the words coming out of your mouth, woman? Unbelievable. And they're worried about socialism, but they want Trump to be the dictator? What?
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Dude, I feel like we're winding up. I think
Is that another hour?
No, it's 45 minutes, but I think we'll let this. This probably should be the last segment. I just feel like I'm kind of winding down. My angst has been spent. I feel like I'm.
Angst is gone. Angst has been expunged.
Yeah, and I had that little technical difficulty with my foot.
Yeah.
And I just want to kind of wrap up, maybe do a couple of tests on our system, make sure I haven't done any permanent damage, and
I'd like to hear some of this back too.
and just and just say, you know what?
What a great night. What a great
Good
day.
night, good life, good. It's a great country.
Mm.
It can be better, and let's keep our eye on our president, because I don't think he's necessarily all that.
Yeah.
And if you think he's all that, please pull in the reins a little bit. Take another look.
And attack us for coming in full bore on Tulsi Gabbard. She is my candidate from here on until the primaries are done.
Even though she talks about love. I'll send you a link.
Yes,
Yeah, because
absolutely.
that is the thing I worry about a little bit, because politics is so dog eat dog. Is there a place for love in politics? You're kind of telling me not really, and I'm like, oh man, I really want there to be. Anyway,
Love. When you talk about love, you better be a poet, or you might look foolish.
I was gonna say you better be a poet, or you might blow it.
Wish I had said that. Thanks again, man. Go.